Welcome back on Guard Army. Today we are going to be going over a Regidrago Ogerpon list. This has a lot of different options, and I feel like Ogerpon might be the boost that Regidrago needs to actually become viable. As a refresher, if you don't know what Regidrago VSTAR does, this is a 280 HP Regidrago, 280 HP VSTAR Pokemon with the Legacy Star ability that allows us to discard 7 cards off the top of our deck and then put any 2 cards from our discard pile back into our hand. This is super nice because it also allows us to reuse A-Specs. For example, we are playing Scoop Up Cyclone in this build, so if we've used Scoop Up Cyclone once in the early game, we can also Legacy Star later in the game and get it back. This is also good for getting our dragons into discard early to be able to copy with the Apex Dragon attack, which allows us to choose an attack from a dragon Pokemon in our discard pile and use it as this attack. And it's just getting through our deck a little bit faster to find our pieces as quickly as possible as we go along. So we have 3 of the Regidrago V. The attacks aren't super relevant, but they could actually come up. Celestial Roar is not going to be the attack that we use in most cases. If we are attacking with this, most of the time it will be to use Dragon Laser to do 130 and then 30 to a bench. The Regidrago, as we just went over, this is the main attacker of our deck. It is going to be copying the attacks of our other dragons in discard, including Raging Bolt EX with the Bellowing Thunder attack that lets us discard any amount of basic energy from our Pokemon in play and do 70 for each discarded. This pairs very well with the Ogerpon here that uses Grass Energy, as well as Regidrago also using Grass Energy, so we can use the Teal Dance ability to accelerate a Grass Energy from hand to itself and draw a card. With a bunch of Ogerpon in play, we can ramp a ton of grass into play, and then we can discard them off of copying the Raging Bolt's Bellowing Thunder attack. This also helps for accelerating our energy to our Regidrago, because we play 4 energy switches to move them over. Our second attacker is Noivern EX. This has the Covert Flight attack, which, against any basic exclusive decks such as Miraidon or Raging Bolt Ogerpon, or something else that is just like specifically basic Pokemon, Covert Flight can be a great way to just kind of win if they don't really have a way to respond to lone Regidrago copying this attack. Dominating Echo isn't bad either, because you can just swing for 140 and then they can't play Special Energy or Stadium cards from hand. This is good paired with Temple of Sinnoh against Lugia. This will be like the main way that we deal with Lugia, is by playing down a Temple of Sinnoh and then just smacking them for 140, forcing them to not be able to attach Special Energy from hand, and in order to get rid of the Temple of Sinnoh, they will need to swing with their Lugia V-Star, like, regular attack for 220, which doesn't quite knock out Regidrago and allows us to half-hit them as well. Then we've got the Dragapult. This is the new EX from this set, the Dragon-type Pokemon that for 2 energy does 200 and spreads 6 to the bench. This is just an overall great attack. It's netting 260 damage in total, and allows us to set up for different knockouts throughout the game. We are also playing Hisuian Goodra V-Star. For anything that is just trying to smack us for a ton of damage, we can prevent those KOs, or sometimes get out of range of 2-hit knockouts, by swinging with Rolling Iron and taking 80 less damage from attacks. The ability doesn't really matter because we're not actually evolving into this, it's just going to be in our discard pile. So Moisture Star is just, it just exists on the card. We're not actually going to be using this. Then we have the 4 Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, which in addition to Teal Dance, as I mentioned earlier, also has the attack Myriad Leaf Shower, which does 30 plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. This actually is a relevant attack, especially if you face against a deck either Pult playing Zard or just straight up Zard, because Myriad Leaf Shower, if you have 3 energy on this, you're swinging for 120, and for them to be swinging in the first place, they have to have 2 energy on themselves, meaning that you are swinging for 180 damage with Myriad Leaf Shower. And Charizard EX being a Dark type, a Terra Dark Pokemon, you are going to be hitting for weakness and hitting for a massive 360 damage, being able to take a knockout with the Teal Mask Ogerpon basic attacker, which otherwise we wouldn't actually be swinging for knockout with anything other than Raging Bolt, and swinging with this preserves our energy. We also don't necessarily need 2 turns to set this up, because we can also go Teal Dance to 2 of these, attach manually to 1 of them, and then energy switch over from one of the ones we accelerated to be able to get the 3 energy onto it in 1 turn. We also have Radiant Tsareena. Theoretically, this could also be Radiant Zard as well. I do like the idea of Radiant Zard as like a 1 prize big hit attacker, but I also like the idea of Radiant Tsareena for healing off some damage if our opponent is spreading damage to us. That would help a lot against other Dragapult decks, but at the same time, not 100% sure which is going to be more popular or more useful in the long run, so I would say choose between Radiant Tsareena and Radiant Charizard and just go from there. We also have 4 Ultra Balls because they can grab us any of our Pokemon in our deck and also be able to discard some of our dragons to be able to use the Apex Dragon attack. We've got 3 Nest Balls just as a way to search out our basics to get them onto the field. Theoretically, you could also go Nest Ball for Raging Bolt and then Scoop Up Cyclone, picking up the Raging Bolt, and then discard it if that's the way that you need to do it to get the Raging Bolt into discard. And then we also have 1 Capturing Aroma, so we can flip a coin and potentially hit the specific Pokemon we need. Regardless of which you hit, either heads or tails, at the very least you'll be thinning a card out of your deck. We then, as I said earlier, have the 4 Energy Switch. This is great for accelerating onto the Ogerpon and then moving it over. We've got 2 switches to be able to move between our attackers, especially if we might have something stranded in the active or someone's trying to stall something. We can switch into the Regidrago that's actually set up, or if one of our Regidragos is damaged, we could always switch into a second completely fresh Regidrago. We have 3 Earthen Vessel for being able to get our energy, because our energy is going to be both our draw and what we need to function, obviously. But it's also another card that is able to discard our dragons to be able to use the Apex Dragon attack. It's nice that the Earthen Vessel can just grab us 2 grass, and then if we have 2 Ogerpon down, we can just go attach with Teal Dance and draw 2 cards. Like, this is a draw engine in and of itself. And being able to just Earthen Vessel for 2 grass, get 2 grass into play and draw 2 cards, it's like you Gutsy Pickaxed twice, and both of them... It's like you Gutsy Pickaxed twice, got energy and an additional card. It's crazy. So you've got 2 Super Rod to be able to put back in some of your energy to be able to use them in the late game to continue to draw, or any of our Regidragos or other things that we had to pitch earlier. This might happen because we might need to Legacy Star and it might discard a couple of Pokemon that we wanted to have in the late game. Having double Super Rod allows us to manage that a bit better. Theoretically, you could go down to 1 Super Rod, but 2 Super Rods feels nice here. Then we've got 1 Superior Energy Retrieval, another discard out, but this can also get us back some of our fire and grass from discard. We could straight up put fire, grass into hand and go accelerate Ogerpon, attach fire, energy switch over. Like, I think Superior Energy Retrieval is a very good card in this deck. And then for our Ace Spec of choice, we have Scoop Up Cyclone. Put 1 of your Pokemon and all attached cards into your hand. This not only is good for healing our damaged Regidragos if they half hit us and we want to go from one Regidrago into another, but is also good for if we happen to start our Raging Bolt EX, we can use Scoop Up Cyclone to pick up the Raging Bolt EX and then discard it with Earthen Vessel, Ultra Ball, or one of our supporters as well. This is great for being able to get it off the field. It's also good against stall if they're trying to stall Raging Bolt in the active by chance. We can just pick it up and then discard it, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Then we get into our supporter line. We have 2 Professor's Research, which is discard our hand and draw 7 cards. Great paired with the amount of stuff that we want to be discarding anyway. 2 Carmines. Theoretically, you could go down to 1 Carmine here, but 2 makes it more reliable to find. You could theoretically go down to 1 Carmine and 3 Research, or just cut Carmine entirely and play 4 Research. But I do like the ability to, going first, be able to use a supporter that allows us to get set up a little bit easier. We then also have 2 Iono for being able to disrupt our opponent, as well as being some raw draw, and the ability to put some of our cards back into our deck to prevent ourselves from decking out. We have 2 Boss's Orders for being able to target down specific things, especially if we're wanting to spread some damage around with Phantom Dive, and then we want to try and take a big 4-prize turn by pulling up something we already damaged, and then KOing 2 things at the same time. We have 1 Lance because it grabs us 3 Dragon Pokemon, which is great for being able to set up our Regidragos and grab whatever specific attackers we want. And then we have Mela for when one of our Pokemon were knocked out on the previous turn. We can go Mela accelerate a fire to a new Regidrago, attach a grass, accelerate a grass with Teal Dance, and then energy switch over to swing with Apex Dragon. Then finally we have 2 Temple of Sinnoh because the hardest matchup for this deck is Lugia, so this is going to be the main way that we are going to try and circumvent the Lugia matchup, by trying to turn off their energies. This is great for being able to turn off Gift Energy to stop them from drawing, Mist Energy to prevent them from stopping us from spreading with the Dragapult attack. It turns off Jet Energy so they don't have easy switches, and it turns off Legacy Energy, which would be preventing us from taking an additional prize. We can also stop them from bumping this with anything other than Lugia V-Star's attack, with the Dominating Echo attack, as mentioned earlier. Then we have 9 Grass Energy. We want a lot of Grass Energy to be able to set up with our Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, and then we have 3 Fire Energy to be able to potentially use 3 different Regidrago attacks throughout the game. So, this is the Regidrago Ogerpon list. It's been a ton of fun to play so far. I'm unsure about whether or not Radiant Tsareena is completely worth it. It could definitely be a Radiant Charizard, but overall, I really like the list. Hope you guys will give it a shot, and if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below if there's any other decks this format you want me to go over. I have quite a few different plans to make some videos. I think next week will probably be Greninja Frostlass due to popular demand, so next week that will probably be the video. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all later.